Daniel Jeremiah, NFL Network analyst and co-host of Move the Sticks podcast. He is a Chargers radio color analyst, former NFL scout, and he's at the Chargers camp today and was recently at the Titans camp. Inside the NFL Network's training camp coverage continues today starting at noon Eastern. Let me start there, Daniel. Baker Mayfield, top 5 NFC quarterback.
Well, first of all, Dan, I think this is when you know the offseason was too long, when it's like we've narrowed the list to like, is Baker Mayfield, is he a top 3 former Oklahoma quarterback who's played in the last 15 years? It's like, golly, I'm having to run through all. Wait, who is all in this discussion? I agree with all the comps that were just made except Stafford. They were in the same building at the same time not long ago, and to me, I know Stafford was hurt at that time, but Stafford to me is just he's more talented. So even at this stage in his career, but he belongs up there in the NFC. But obviously the greater point, Dan, is just how lopsided the league is. Now stack him up with the AFC. That's a long list on that side.
Okay, but where does Baker rank in former Oklahoma quarterbacks in the last decade?
Just above Kyler. Well, are we going to count? We can go back further. Does Troy Aikman still count as a former Oklahoma quarterback? Okay.
No.
Okay. Yeah. He's up there. I would have him. Heupel would be below him. Sam Bradford is. That's a debate in his prime before the injuries. I mean, that's a great radio segment right now. Let's do that.
Okay, but Jalen Hurts, is he the best Oklahoma quarterback in the last 10 years? Or do you put Kyler Murray, or do you put Baker Mayfield? Let's just do those 3.
Yeah, no, I would go, so it's Baker, Kyler, and then Jalen. I would go Jalen, Baker, Kyler.
Okay. All right. I'm just not sure about Jalen Hurts. It's weird how you can be great in a Super Bowl loss, great in a Super Bowl win. I just don't know, is he a great quarterback, or is he just the right quarterback for a great team?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to figure that out. I will let you know, though, Dan, we are in danger of Spencer Rattler throwing this back in our face after a big 2025.
What about Landry Jones? But
Hurts is, to your point, though, like they're different, obviously, totally different style players, and it just does feel like the rewind of the conversations on, Brady with the early championships, which was like, how much is him? How much is it with the team? The point that, that makes it challenging to me is with Jalen. I was talking about this the other day. If you were to go through like the great teams and you're going to have a draft off of their players, that to me is a fascinating discussion of like, which pick would Jalen Hurts be off of the Eagles? Like, just in terms of talent, he's probably not one of the 3 most talented players on that team. And you wouldn't say that about, Josh Allen with the Bills would be the first pick. Mahomes with the Chiefs would be the first pick, on and on. You kind of go through that list. So that's where that becomes a challenge.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And look, these lists drive me crazy, but sometimes I have to acquiesce and go, okay, I'll do it. We're talking to Daniel Jeremiah, former NFL scout. He works for NFL Network, does a great job on their NFL draft coverage. You were at the Titans camp, and it feels like, is Cam Ward officially the starting quarterback for the Titans?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they've officially announced it, but it's clear and obvious when you go out there and watch him that he's the guy. And he did some good things when I was there. He made some big-time throws. He had a practice in the stadium the other day, and, he's got a lot of ability. He's got a loose arm. He can move around, which he's probably still going to need to do. I know they efforted to really upgrade that offensive line, but it's still, it's a little bit leaky. But I was talking to their leadership there with the president and general manager. I said, the kind of the cardinal sin in football in the NFL right now is you can't be bad and boring, Dan. Like, you can be one or the other, but you can't be both. And this is going to keep them from being a boring team. They're going to be a fun watch. With Ridley making some plays down the field, and Pollard's a good running back, and now you've got an exciting quarterback. There's going to be turnovers. There's going to be some ugly moments, but I contend when you have a young quarterback, you're smart to try and put all those resources on that side of the ball, because not all losses are the same. With a rookie quarterback, if you're losing 28-27 or 28-24, and he's showing some flashes, it's a heck of a lot better than losing 13-9.
Yeah, that's part of the problem where, like, Carolina was bad and boring.
Yeah.
I mean, Bryce is fun and showed glimpses last year, and they're probably going to be better. And then I look at the Cleveland Browns; they got Myles Garrett, but I don't find them entertaining. I don't know if people are going to come on, kids, we're going to go watch Myles Garrett today. They're kind of in no man's land. While we talk about their quarterbacks, they have 2 first-round picks for next year that I don't know if it matters what they have this year because of those first-round picks next year. So how do you assess Cleveland? Are they bad and boring as well?
Well, I think the defense has a chance to be good, but that doesn't make them less boring. So I do think they're in the boring category for sure. I don't know that I'm willing to put him totally in the bad category yet. And I think Flacco, even at this age, he'll make them competitive. He'll make some plays. But I look at them, Dan, with those two first-round picks you mentioned, and this year should be, in my opinion, about discovery. People don't want to hear that, but I want to end the year. I'd like to know what I have in those 2 rookie quarterbacks. At least let them play a little bit, so I have some idea of what I have before you go into a draft. So everybody, the season hasn't even started yet. What are you talking about? Joe Flacco is going to take us to the AFC Championship game, and I'm I don't really see that happening. But it would be a shame to get to this whole year for them to be kind of a right around or under 500 team and to not see those 2 rookies and not know what you have going into year 2.
Yeah, I think that certainly Shedeur is going to get a chance to play, probably start a few games as well, but more likely to use their 2 first-round picks on a quarterback next year, the Rams or the Browns?
I would say, if the quarterbacks live up to, some of the love they're getting over the summer here for next year's quarterback class, depending on who comes out, I would say that they're both. I would be shocked if both of them didn't end up with a quarterback in next year's draft.
You are at Chargers camp, and we're seeing Jim Harbaugh make this a Michigan-looking offense, and they run the ball, re-sign Slater. They draft a running back. You bring in Najee, but their best offensive player is Justin Herbert. It's like J.J. McCarthy. I didn't know how good he was at Michigan because he sort of de-emphasized J.J. McCarthy. Is Jim kind of de-emphasizing Justin Herbert? I mean, he had his best year, not statistically, but I think his quarterback rating was. So it almost feels like, is this Michigan 2.0 for the Chargers?
Yeah, I think, look, he protected the football until you got to the playoff game. Unfortunately, turned it over a little bit against the Texans. But I think the game plan is, hey, maybe we can major in Clark Kent and minor in Superman, and then, that'll keep you fresh. And when we need you to kind of bust that out, we can do that. I mean, really, truthfully, it's what the Chiefs have done with Mahomes over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Hasn't been really the driving force of that offense. So I think that's part of it. But I was there last year at camp the day that Herbert, I believe it was his foot. He hurt his foot. Then he missed a couple weeks of practice, and then they didn't really use him much in the run game. But, I mean, at the practice I was at, and I was seeing, quarterback power, and they were some design quarterback runs where it was like, oh, my gosh, if they're willing to do that and Herbert can, add that a little bit of that Josh Allen element to his game, and he's a big, athletic, strong guy, and you saw with Andrew Luck, and obviously he had Kaepernick with the 49ers. I'm not saying it's going to be that level of volume in terms of running, but that could be an area of Herbert's game that they haven't really tapped into yet.
Yeah, I go back to his Rose Bowl performance, and his legs stood out to me when he was at Oregon in that game. And I don't know where coaches stand on having my quarterback run. You kind of hold your breath when Josh Allen runs because he's not running necessarily away from you, whereas Lamar and Kyler and some of those guys are avoiding contact. I would try to utilize Justin Herbert the way they do Josh Allen. I just wouldn't have him take on defenders like Josh does.
Yeah, I mean, that would be preferable not to initiate contact, which Josh likes to do. But I mean, for the first couple of years he was in the league and doing all the Charger games, I would always go down the field for warm-ups, and I'd always get a chance to talk with the opposing GM and other personnel buddies. And they would all say the same thing, Dan. It was just like, good night. I had no idea how big Justin Herbert is. Like, he is huge. And it's not much difference between him and Josh Allen size-wise. They are both big, strong, sturdy guys. So I don't think it's something you want to do 10 times a game. But, having that element, even on zone reads, Dan, just having the threat of him as someone who could pull the ball.
Yep.
Now you've got Omarion Hampton, who is big and explosive. And he can help the run game even if he's not necessarily carrying it.
Who's the worst team in the NFL right now?
I'm curious to see what the Saints end up looking like. The Titans are going to be better, but I still think defensively, they don't really have corners. They don't have edge rushers. I think they're going to give up a lot of points. Those would be the two that would come to the top of mind.
And I know that Arch Manning hasn't played a full season at Texas, but if you're telling me that the Saints are on the clock with the number 1 pick, could you see Arch Manning deciding, I think he's staying another year after this, but if his hometown Saints are on the clock with the number 1 pick, and he's had a very good year at Texas, do you think Arch Manning would come out for that?
I don't. I mean, everything seems to be what you're saying about him wanting to get another year, and it's about having the long-term success. As much as it'd be cool to play for your hometown team, I just don't think that's as much of a draw anymore.
Okay.
If that were the case, he'd probably be playing for LSU right now.
Yeah, I think he's going to, because money's not the issue. Although if the Cleveland Browns are there staring at you, that might make me want to go back to play another year, a couple more years. I might go to grad school at.
I've always wanted to be a dentist.
Yeah. Great to talk to you. Thank you for joining us. I know you got a busy schedule, and we'll be watching.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate you, buddy.
Daniel Jeremiah, NFL Network analyst, and their inside training camp coverage continues today starting at noon Eastern.